So as we head into summer 2025, I want to talk about the type of product that you want to look to sell on Amazon if you're serious about making money with your Amazon private label business. Now, if you've got an arbitrage or a wholesale business, the advice is slightly different, and it will make sense as I go through this. So I just want to start with this first product, which is picnic blankets. And let's bring up X-Ray from Helium 10. Now, if you looked at these stats, and if you watched any of my previous videos, you know the first things that I look at are price point and demand. The recent purchases column here, this is really nice. For a new seller, this is a great example of the demand levels you want to see. There's plenty of demand between that 1 to 300 units per month, which is usually a really good zone for new sellers who don't have, tens of thousands to invest in stock, but also there's enough demand there to make this whole thing worthwhile, and you can make decent money from this demand. It runs quite deep and it's quite well spread. So the demand levels check out, and this is the sort of thing you want to look for. We then look at price point. And recently I've been talking about the importance of selling at £20 plus, because below that is so difficult to make money on Amazon in 2025 and beyond. And in this niche, to be fair, there isn't a huge amount of proven demand above £20. We've got one listing here at $19.99, one at $23.99, one at $22.94, $19.89, $19.99. So there's five or six sellers here, another one there. What I class as a landing zone, which is a group of sellers selling at the price point you'd be targeting, at the demand levels you would be targeting. So there is a landing zone in this niche. You could go into it aiming for about £20 a month, and then aiming for probably around 200 to 300 sales per month. That's a really good set. That's a really good match for new sellers. But this is actually a terrible product for new sellers, because the third metric, which I always want you guys to look at, the first three things, if your product does not tick all three of these boxes, just close it down and move on, is the seasonality. As you may imagine, with picnic blankets, if we look at the 1 year view, it's the 1st of May today, and we can see April has been surprisingly warm and dry this year in the UK. So you can see the demand has picked up a lot in April, and I can imagine May is going to be quite spiky as well. But the big concern here is look what happens after the summer ends, as you head into the end of August and into September. Demand stops from September, October, November, December, January, February, March. For 7 months, this product basically doesn't sell, or if it does, it sells in tiny volumes. So if you're starting your own Amazon FBA private label business today, and this was your chosen product as of the 1st of May 2025, by the time you had gone through the sample process, you developed this product, made it unique, give it perceived value, ordered that, wait for it to get shipped to the UK. It's probably going to arrive in May, June, July, probably September-ish, and then the season's over, and you're sat with 1,000 units maybe, or 500 units stuck in an Amazon fulfillment center that just aren't going to sell. So the best sort of products to sell on Amazon in summer 2025 and beyond. First thing, you do not want to sell seasonal products. This is an awful choice. Now, if you're doing arbitrage or wholesale, the turnaround time is a lot quicker. If you're dabbling with arbitrage, you can go and buy something in the shop today, get it to Amazon within 48 hours and make a profit and get paid within a couple of weeks. So it's a completely different kettle of fish. But for private label sellers who are buying in bulk from China and got those import costs and import times and manufacturing times, this just does not work. So seasonality is the first thing you need to be aware of, or the main thing you need to be aware of from the purposes of this being a summer related video. Price point has to be £20 plus, and demand has to be well spread, not too high and not too low. And if all of those three things check out, you're going to want to look at the other metrics. So other things I would consider when I'm picking a product. I really like fabric products, and the reason for this is they are very easy to customize. If you've got a metal product or a plastic product, a lot of the rigid products are made with molds, and molds can be very expensive to change. So if you want to make customizations to it, it can put up the cost of the product quite a lot, or a big one-off cost to get those molds made. Whereas something like a fabric product, these are made by hand, or hand combined with machine, and they're super easy to customize. So that's one of the reasons I like fabric products. Also, they're super safe to ship. You haven't got to worry too much about getting damaged, and usually they can be folded up very nicely to accommodate the Amazon FBA fulfillment tiers that we've talked about in previous videos to help keep those fees down as much as possible. Now, if I bring X-Ray back up, there are other things you're going to want to keep an eye out for. If I scroll over to the right-hand side, The fees that I just mentioned, relating to fabric products, can be easily folded. You want to pick product with low fees. And what do I mean by low fees? No more than, well, not no more, but about 30% of the sale price. So if you're selling around £20, you want your fees to be somewhere around £6 to £7. Now remember, as a new seller, you won't be VAT registered, so VAT will be added on top of these fees. So if you see £7, add £1.40 to that, you're going to be £8.40. So that would probably be too high. You're going to need it to be something like this because VAT is added to that. So your fees you want to be low, and this ties in very closely with the size of the product as well. So you've got the size tier here with standard parcels and small parcels. That's where you want to be. You genuinely want to avoid any oversized products because import costs are going to be expensive and Amazon fees are going to be expensive. You also want to avoid niches where there's lots of either big brands, so named household brand names that you would recognize, or Amazon sellers. And we can see here, Amazon has got 3 of the top 4 listings here. The other one is One Horse, which is actually a big FBA brand, and they're actually doing MFM because the FBA fees probably means they're not competitive. So that's something to keep in mind. Now, if we come back over to the left-hand side, a lot of people worry about reviews. And when you see something like this, a product that's got 15,000 reviews and it's got a 4.7 rating, it does sound like it's going to be hard to compete with, but just open up the product and you have to honestly assess yourself. I mean, this is quite a poor listing. This is the Amazon Basics store, but that photo, it's not great, is it? It's really not great. It's cut out very poorly. So yeah, this product has got 15,000 reviews and it does average 4.7. But do you think you could develop a product with a main image that looks more attractive than this? I think you could. I think the only reason this product really sells is because it's Amazon Basics and people give that a bit more weight. So when you are thinking about reviews and you're thinking about can you compete with someone with lots of reviews, you have to honestly assess the product you're thinking of developing. How, if you were completely new to this niche as a customer, if you saw a product with 10 reviews and then this one with 15,000, how good would that product with 10 reviews have to look? Or what perceived value would that product have to have for you to consider purchasing that over the more established product? And if you can honestly answer that question and give your product that perceived value, then the reviews and ratings and overall score are a lot less important. So let's go back to the niche and bring X-Ray back up just to see if there's any more bits I want you guys to be aware of when you're choosing products to sell from summer 2025 and beyond. So we've covered avoid lots of big brands, we've covered the price point, we've covered demand levels. This one here, parent level sales and ASIN sales. This is something to be aware of as this is basically variations. And you'll notice 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the top 5 organic listings, the parent sales are a lot more than the ASIN sales. Now what that means is these listings have multiple variations. So this parent level sales is the top level listing with multiple ASINs under it, and they all contribute to, or they all add together to create this overall number. And you can see just by looking at these results, Amazon take into account all of those listings when ranking products. That's why these 5 at the top have more variations. The ones that are further down, these guys don't have variations and are further down in the search results. And that's not a coincidence. That is how the algorithm works. It takes all of the sales from all of the variations and attributes it to the overall listing. And that's why they get the advantage in the search results. So for most new sellers, launching a product in a niche with lots of variations isn't a great idea, as it's difficult to compete against them, and you don't want to launch lots of variations yourself as a new seller, as it's going to be very difficult to judge demand levels, and you're going to have to order a lot more inventory than you probably want to. So keep that in mind. And if we scroll over a bit further, it's always nice to see some sellers from the UK. So if you see GB, that's often a promising sign. Sometimes you'll just see CN all the way down the page, which usually means the price has been bottomed out and there's no profit to be made in that niche. But if you're still seeing a fair few GB sellers, hopefully that means there is profit to be made. And to scroll back over to the right-hand side, the last check really that I want you to do is to look at the creation date or the seller age. Either one is absolutely fine. This just does the maths for you. And you're just avoiding niches where there's either lots of new sellers. So if these are all new sellers, that's a red flag. Well, not always a red flag, but it's often something to note, because if there's lots of new sellers, why are there lots of new sellers? Is this a brand new product? Is it a fad product? Or is it an issue selling in this niche? And this is this constant churn of new sellers appearing. Or if they're all old listings, that can sometimes indicate it's very difficult to break into that niche. So if you're looking to start your own Amazon FBA business and you're trying to pick a product, keep all of those things in mind and be aware that at the moment it is a very risky time to be doing product research because of the seasonality effects that I've just shown you there. There are going to be a lot of products appearing. You're going to see a lot of products look very, very good, but they only look good for a short time throughout the year. So always have one eye on seasonality. Remember, the holy trifecta, you might want to call it, of price point, £20 plus, demand, plenty of well spread, even demand between 100 to 300 units per month, and seasonality. It has to sell well throughout the year. I don't mind if there's a Q4 peak and it picks up throughout the year, as long as it sells well baseline throughout the remainder of the year. Now, if you're looking to start your own Amazon FBA business, you're going to need things like X-Ray. There'll be a discount code in the pinned top comment directly below the link to the FBA Elite course. And if you want to know what method I use to find products to sell on Amazon, I'm going to pop up that video now, and I'll see you guys over there.